What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another FPL video on Fantasy Football Scout. It's a team news slash live Q&A kind of hybrid. I've got the chat loaded just to see if there's any last minute team news. We've got a bit of team news ourselves. It's going to be 2 Scoutcasts this week, not one. So I'm doing this video instead of Joe, and I'm joined by David instead of Neil, because apparently Neil's allowed days off, which is a bit weird. How you doing, David?
Yeah, well, very good, thanks. Other than the fact that I don't have my star man, Neil is on his day off. He's a bit like Tammy Abraham, sort of people really want him, but he's not always there. So, but that's fine. Absolutely entitled to his day off, and I always have a newfound respect for him whenever I'm having to go through all the team news and the pressers, because there's so much to go through, and he does it so well. So yeah, been a busy day, but there's some football tonight to make up for it.
Yeah, it should be good. So there's pretty much every team to go through because there was so many press conferences today. But I suppose the big news is: was there any news on Tammy Abraham? It's not looking great, is it?
Well, I mean, it's not looking good for fantasy managers because, of course, what we like is concrete yes and no's, don't we? And there was an update on Lampard, and he gave us, perhaps maybe more than like Guardiola or Eddie Howe would, but yeah, sadly, not really enough to make any decision really easy to make. So I'll read you the quotes, rather than sort of try and then I'll give you my opinion on what I think might happen. He basically said yes, he's coming along okay. We're going to give him every possible chance to be fit. He's still got some pain in the area of the injury, so we'll make a judgment call tomorrow. That's obviously be on Wednesday. It's one of those that's painful for him, so it's a bit of a pain threshold thing. It could affect his movements on the pitch. As I said, I don't want to commit today. I think for players that are important, we try to give them as much time. We need them to be keen. He is keen and he's trying his best. But if he's not fit for tomorrow, then we have to go a different route. So as much as he's tried to help us, really it's kind of non-committal. So then, personally, I think he is going to play, but I mean that's just a hunch, and I can't really base that on a huge amount. I think they're going to do everything they can to get him to play this game because it's Aston Villa, and of course he was there last season. I think that's going to mean a lot for him, and then therefore would mean a lot for Chelsea as well. And they've lost 2 Premier League games in a row. They really need their best team if they can get it to get a positive result. And I think that Abraham is the way to do that, because Batshuayi and Giroud haven't really shown as much as Abraham has. Pulisic can play false 9 is what we hope, which is potentially exciting for those of you who own Pulisic. But at the same time, I think most people would agree they'd rather have Abraham up front. So I'm more positive than most people. But unfortunately, we've seen in the last few hours, Neil, admittedly on his day off, still scouring around, noticed a tweet from Wee Rogue, who's gone through the Getty Images album of today's training session for Chelsea. And there were no pictures of him, which doesn't mean he didn't train, but it does mean it's highly unlikely that he didn't train. But we can't really say for certain, and it's hard to really base decisions off that because, of course, he could train tomorrow and play tomorrow. So, bottom line really is, we don't have as much as we'd like. It's really annoying.
I actually think the decision is pretty easy. If you've kept him, I don't think now is the time to get rid of him. It seems unlikely he's going to miss another game after this one. And if you kind of already made your decision to keep him in the last game, then one more is probably not that bad. You've already taken the price drop. He's probably going to start the weekend. He's still a good buy for his price. And if you're looking at buying him, you're not going to do that anyway. So I feel like it's annoying that Lampard didn't make the quote as good as we want. Yes, he's absolutely going to start. They never do that anyway. And I think you can, if you own him, you can probably just play him. And he's probably going to play or not. I don't think we're going to see a cameo appearance, but you never know. But yeah, it's frustrating. There's only other team news I saw for Chelsea was Ross Barkley. Is that right? I think he's still out. Mm-hmm. Nothing else major.
Yeah, so Ross Barkley had an ankle injury, which he was like 50% for, I think, on FPL. And then just in his recovery, he's got ill and is now red flagged. And so that doesn't really have a huge impact. Rudiger is still out. So, I mean, that's good for your Tomoris and your Zumas because he's increasingly coming closer to coming back. So he's described as being a week to 10 days away. So maybe that could cause some issues for us over Christmas, but perhaps because if he's going to rotate, as he has done in the defensive positions, we will be able to do that very soon. But of course, that doesn't really affect game week 15. And then he was asked a question about Alonso, and he basically just kind of said that he just kind of made a point of how he wants everybody fit and ready to play, which could suggest some rotation. But, I don't really think anyone's really looking at Alonso or Emerson. So, yeah, Abraham was a really big one at Lampard. And outside of that, it doesn't really affect us too much just yet.
Yeah, hopefully not too much rotation, and hopefully my mic's okay. I see people in the chat complaining about my mic. I've just tried turning it up, so fingers crossed. But yeah, hopefully not too much rotation because I've just bought in Pulisic literally in the last hour and taken out Mount. So fingers crossed.
I did that for 14 as well. So
yeah, the stats
I'm
difference
completely.
is just incredible. It's just ridiculous. All right, moving on to maybe less important, but FPL managers still might want to know Aston Villa. Not too much to go on here.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, really, just Aston Villa is just worth knowing because obviously they're playing Chelsea. They're not going to have Anwar El Ghazi, who came off injured against Man United, which I think is a good thing for Chelsea clean sheet potential because he's been quite exciting recently. Trezeguet, I think, is going to come in for him, who, to be fair, hasn't been too awful either. But then they're not going to be fielding, I would suggest, their best attackers for this game, which I think is good news for those of us who are going to start Tomori.
Okay, cool. And I guess Grealish still fully fit. People looking at bringing him in this week. I think that's a tough enough game, but we'll see what happens. All right, maybe a team that's probably a little bit more prominent in terms of our minds. Liverpool, no concerns there, I don't think.
No, thankfully enough, no fresh injury news or anything from Liverpool. So he basically just got asked one question, and that was about Joel Matip, because obviously he's quite an important player. And we know Fabinho's out till the new year anyway, so there's no point asking on him. So Joel Matip still out, and Klopp saying he's still out for a while. So in one sense, it makes life a little bit easier in inverted commas because we know who is and isn't going to play probably. It's probably just going to be Van Dijk and Lovren again. But obviously, of course, a little bit discouraging for Liverpool clean sheet potential. Personally, I think there could be some rotation for this game or maybe the next one because, there's lots of busy games for Liverpool. But chances of those really affecting our main assets like Salah and Mane are probably quite low. Like Origi can maybe come in. Of course, Origi scored that ridiculous winning goal against Everton last season. Probably going to happen more in the central midfield area. But yeah, generally speaking, nothing new on the injury front, which is always good news.
Yeah, I think I actually checked because I stupidly said that Trent could maybe get rotated at the start of the season. He hasn't missed a single minute yet.
I said the same.
Yeah, so I think they've done a bit of rotation in the Champions League. So fingers crossed. Obviously, that can't happen for a bit now, but hopefully that's done its job. And obviously, they are playing Everton this week. I think Theo Walcott is fit. If anyone's thinking of buying him, yes. Seems unlikely.
Yeah, I don't think people are going to go too close to Theo Walcott, but worth noting that Coleman's still out, and Delph had a chance of maybe playing but can't, and of course they haven't got Gomez. Schneiderlin might come back in, but just worth knowing that they're probably not going to be fielding necessarily their best defense with a few people missing. So hopefully, for those of us who are back in Liverpool, which is most people to be fair, helps them get a few more goals than they would if Everton had their best players ready.
None of those players that are missing out are new though, right? Those same players missed out against Leicester, am I right?
Yeah, that's right. But there was suggestions that Delph and Coleman might be able to be ready for this one, but Silva's just said no. There's no way they're going to. Well, very low chance they're coming back.
Oh, fair enough. The only reason I say that is because I actually thought they defend, even though they're missing quite a few players, I thought they did all right against Leicester. Whether they can keep Liverpool out, different story. Obviously, they still conceded 2 against Leicester anyway, but I thought they did all right. Liverpool might be a different story, though. West Ham, it actually sounds bad if you want West Ham to concede, because it looks like the goalkeeper's going to stay in.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose you probably shouldn't be too shocked by this, but it's really, I always love it when when a real life manager hands fantasy managers quotes as specific as this. Because, for a long time, Roberto's been so bad for West Ham. It's been one of the main reasons why several assets, whenever they've played West Ham, have been able to get some points because he was rubbish. Pellegrini finally made the right decision of putting David Martin in for the Chelsea game. He was obviously arguably man of the match and 4 million goalkeeper as well. So if anyone's, thinking about it, he's going to start this game. I mean, it's great. So, exactly, yeah. I mean, it's hard to really see Fabianski coming back fairly soon, and there's lots of game weeks to come. So, it could be a good, viable option. And as I said, it's just perfect because Pellegrini said specifically, yes, David Martin will start. Oh, thank you so much. I mean, why can't everybody else do this? It's so helpful. He just said his goalkeeper was a special position. He didn't have much match experience, but unfortunately for Roberto, he wasn't doing well. So
Yeah.
We all kind of knew that. But obviously I got Jota. A lot of people have Jimenez. I think West Ham will still give up plenty of chances, as they always do, and did under Fabianski being in goal. But, the way that Martin played against Chelsea, you got to imagine that watching that game, wanting Wolves players to score, it could be a bit of a slog. It could end up being a bit like it was for Chelsea assets in game week 14. So, yeah, beware. But at the same time, potentially, if people are looking to make a goalkeeper transfer to save some money, kind of looks like Martin's probably going to start the next fair few. So, yeah.
Yeah, you'd imagine he'd have to have a bit of a howler or a few howlers to be replaced again by Roberto. I think it's interesting that the manager comes out and basically says that your goalkeeper is bad, but I guess sometimes honesty is the best policy. And then my team, the shirt is on, Man United. Still not good news in terms of Pogba. That is a problem. He's just not fit at all still.
That's right, and it's a bit disappointing, I suppose, for United fans, and I guess people kind of with Martial and Rashford, because this was another one of those ones where there was a chance that he might be on his way back, but actually it sounds like he's further away than we thought. So the exact quote, Solskjaer said, he's not ready, he's still a bit away, working hard, so let's see, he's out on the grass, but we'll see how long it takes. So those there's a few journalists sort of connected with the club suggesting that he's going to also be a doubt for game week 16 as well, which obviously a big game being the derby. He usually does quite well in that game, so actually missing him would be frustrating. Martial and Rashford are still doing quite well from an FPL perspective, largely. Rashford more so than Martial, although Martial very close to getting some points against Villa. So they're still creating chances without him, but of course him coming back could supercharge those assets, but it's just when it's going to be. Some people are suggesting he doesn't even have an injury. We're kind of getting into the realms of conspiracy theory once we get to this point, but his relationship with the club over sort of the last 18 months hasn't exactly been healthy, and there's been interest in him. So some people are suggesting that he's not really injured, which is why it sounds like, he's going to come back, and then there's been a setback, and he's going to come back, and there's been a setback, and it's probably he's not ready to play or whatever. But of course, January transfer window coming up, you'd think he'd want to play if he was fit. So,
Zaha, basically. Get yourself
exactly
into the shop window. Here's a question for you then, because a lot of people have got Martial. If you had him this week, would you sell him?
Well, it would depend who I didn't already have. So, I've got Pulisic now, but if I didn't have Pulisic, then I would be very tempted because, Pulisic, you mentioned it at the top about the stats that you compare Pulisic versus pretty much everybody else, and he just completely dominates everything. Since game week 10, when he got his first start, against Burnley, he's been joint second in the whole league for shots on target. He scored 5 goals, more goals than any other Chelsea player, more goals than most midfielders, to be honest. So, bearing in mind that he's at home against Aston Villa and Martial's playing Spurs, there's quite a disparity between those two fixtures. So, if I didn't have Pulisic, I would make that move. But of course, you might be kind of a bit stuck if you've already got Mount and Tammy and Tomori. Yeah. But right now I've got Pulisic, I've got Son, so I can get to Dele Alli if I need to through that route. I'm not really seeing a great need to sell him, if that makes sense. I kind of need someone to really pop up and be an obvious replacement. And bearing in mind I already have the most obvious replacement, I'm probably going to hold him.
Yeah, and the thing is about the next two fixtures for Man United as well, Martial, is they're playing two teams that are going to attack, and Solskjaer wants to play on a counter. So he's probably going to get that chance against Spurs. Obviously, Pogba's a huge miss because similar to how kind of Leicester played, when Maddison gets the ball, he just straight away looks for Vardy and behind. Pogba was doing that for a while with Rashford, and it's just not there. So yeah, I kind of agree. Someone like Pulisic, maybe even Zaha potentially. But Pulisic seems like a bit of a standout for me. And then Spurs, not too much major news from what I could see. Lloris obviously still out, but nothing else major, I think.
Yeah, that's right. It's all just the handy thing about Spurs is that you never really need the manager to tell you, because the way that their medical stuff works is they put out a bulletin about half an hour before the press conference. Just Ben Davis, Eric Lamela, Hugo Lloris, Michel Vorm are all out, and it looks like everyone else is fit. And to be honest, the way that Spurs are playing right now, it's kind of easy to pick the team because I think it's becoming quite clear what the best 11 is there, and they're doing quite well. So at least to begin with, for now, until they lose a game, I think Spurs are easy to predict in terms of lineup. When they lose a game, I imagine Mourinho throw toys out of his pram and probably say it's all Danny Rose's fault or something. So we'll just have to wait for that.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see whether Lucas Moura comes back in anytime soon. So obviously he played the first two and then got dropped, rotated, however you want to word it. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see whether he starts against Man United. I think he has hurt us before.
Oh yes, yeah, the 3-0 last year.
Yeah,
do you know what this means?
Smashed it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see if that happens. And then Norwich doing a little bit better recently. Pookie, scoring a couple of goals. How are they looking injury wise?
Yeah, so it's increasingly looking really positive for Norwich, and I'm kind of we always have been talking about Norwich as one of the the whipping boys, the team that if you've got players playing against them, then or if you're looking at someone who's about to play Norwich, get them in now. And obviously Danny Ings fits that bill this week, and he's been in good form. But I do sort of think that Norwich could be kind of getting back to just a nicer kind of stable position. Because Christoph Zimmerman, the first choice centre back, has been back for the last 2 games, and yes, they've still conceded some goals. Well, they kept a clean sheet against Everton, of course. They are looking better, and then now they've got Alex Tettey back in as well. So they're kind of just slowly everybody's coming back into the fold, and they're very, very close to having their first choice team how they want it. They went on a fairly decent run of clean sheets actually in the Championship last year. As much as we criticised their overall defensive strategy despite winning the league. Once they had Zimmerman and Godfrey playing together, because that partnership didn't really form until about December, they were conceding fewer goals. And I think we will see that now that Godfrey and Zimmerman are back in the team now. Then Tettey coming back into defensive midfield to protect them as well. And it's going to have a double effect on Norwich, I think. It's going to mean they concede fewer goals, which is obvious, I think. But at the same time, I think it's going to make Cantwell and Pukki potentially viable options again, because the way that Norwich play, it's all from the back. Daniel Farke likes his team to, the goalkeeper plays the short passes to defenders and then they play it out. I mean, we've seen it work on plenty of occasions against Arsenal most recently, of course. They were, beating Man City's forward press when they beat them. So when they have everyone fit and they have these defenders who are so good at passing the ball and moving everything forward, I think it's going to transform those particular players' fortunes. So it's a really good idea just to keep an eye on the ongoing injury crisis at Norwich really coming to an end. And I think,
I'm hoping they don't turn it around this week, because I am an Ings owner. Kind of bought him in as a gamble, not to basically took out Abraham for him. So fingers crossed. I mean, he is on a ridiculous run of form. So even if he got a little bit lucky in the last game, hopefully he'll still get a goal or 2 against Norwich. So we're coming to the end of the team updates. There's Brighton. Again, I don't think there was a huge amount there that's going to be massively important.
Yes, it's really just housekeeping at this point. So it's like Bernardo's back, the left back. Solly March and Izquierdo are out. Buffal is a doubt for Southampton because his toe injury, which those of you who saw, he stubbed it on his kitchen table at home, which I love that. So we can add that to the list of hilarious injuries up there with smashed jars of salad cream. He came on as a sub actually against Watford, but
which made it worse, right?
Which made it worse. So, he's now a doubt. But again, doesn't really mean a huge amount. Perhaps, if we want to sort of read loads into it, Southampton looked rubbish before he came on. So if you are an Ings owner and they haven't got Booth, then Ings was actually quite lucky to get that goal, I think, especially with a handball with Gineppo. So maybe a little bit of reason to worry. But if you've got Ings, you're going to hold him for Norwich. So I don't really think it's going to change anyone's decision-making process. And just the only other thing to mention is Freddie Ljungberg had his first Arsenal press conference today ahead of a first home game as Arsenal manager. And, he was like 40 minutes late. And the whole interview was basically just kind of talking about stuff that doesn't really matter to FPL. It's a bit annoying. We had a few press conferences like that today where Ljungberg didn't give any medical updates. Nuno didn't give any for Wolves either because he spent his whole press conference moaning about the Christmas schedule. And Pellegrini didn't give any either for West Ham because he spent most of the press conference talking about goalkeepers. So, there's a couple where that's... Exactly. And of course, one other thing just to mention, actually, Watford has only broken in the last sort of 40 minutes. So I do apologise. I'm still just trying to get that team news entry ready for people in the next 22 minutes. And also because the way the game week is kind of spread out, it means that Sheffield United and Newcastle don't do their press conferences until tomorrow morning, which means if you've got any Newcastle or Sheffield United players, which I know a lot of us have some of the Blades, any of those have got injured, we aren't going to find that out until tomorrow morning after the deadline. but that's just how it goes. So sorry about that, guys.
No one owns Sheffield United players, do they?
Well, there's one guy that we all like, but
Oh my God.
I don't know. I couldn't work out if you've got him yet.
Well, I
You had a very
completely forgot that their press conference wasn't until tomorrow, so that means I haven't got him yet. I've not hit the transfer, but that actually annoys me even more now because if I bring him in for a hit and then he gets a yellow card, or I find out tomorrow that he somehow got injured in training, that is going to be a massive kind of pain. But I'm probably going to bring him in, I think. So yeah, that's kind of all the team news. I'm going to stay on till the deadline. I don't know. Do you want to stay on too, or you got stuff to go and do on the site? Because I can just do the rest if you want.
I can probably give you another 5 to 7 minutes just to give me enough time just to finish this Watford entry. I know not everybody's into their Watford players, but it's always good just to get them all done before deadline. So yeah, a few more minutes, I reckon.
All right. What transfers have you done this week? Have you done any?
No, I've not done any, and I'm very happy about that. I'll just pull my team up now. My actual biggest problem is actually who to start because I am still in possession of Tammy Abraham. I signed Henderson a few weeks ago and I started him for a game where I got something, but he's been on my bench for a bit. A lot of people with Pope and Button kind of a bit worried about this game week, but I've got Henderson to stick in, so that was an easy one. Lundstrom, Alexander-Arnold and Tomori as the 3 centre-backs because I don't have Soyuncu. So actually my back 3 picks itself, which is very nice. And then my biggest issue, I've got Martial, Mane, Pulisic, Son and Cantwell as my midfield 5 to start with before I had this update about Tammy Abraham that I actually quite like the sound of. So I currently got Jota and Vardy starting. Vardy's my captain. Quite an easy choice, I think. So it means that if I'm going to start Abraham, then I'm kind of torn between Cantwell and Martial, to be honest, as to who to put in the first bench slot. Because I think you're right, what you said earlier about if he's not ready to go for this game, then chances are he's not going to come on as a sub. That's fingers crossed, me saying that. So I'm kind of feeling like he's not going to be a cameo. So then maybe it doesn't matter if I end up benching a Martial and a Cantwell when they score. But it is a bit of an annoying one. And yeah, I'd be intrigued to. I mean, what would you do if you sort of had 5 midfield players you quite like the look of, 2 strikers you quite like the look of as well, and Abraham to fit into the mix? I mean, what personally would you do in that situation?
Hang on, who are you benching for Martial?
Well, it would be Martial would go on the bench and Abraham would start. So as in, I'm torn between benching either Martial or Cantwell to start Abraham. That's my dilemma. Yeah, sorry.
I don't know. I mean, Martial's at home. I think that makes a bit of a difference. I'd probably play Martial, I think, but then I'm biased in that regard, so maybe I'm the worst person to ask. But I don't know. I mean, Cantwell is obviously in a bit of form. Southampton not doing great recently either,
especially at home and defending wide areas. So I quite like the look of Cantwell because he seems best placed to exploit quite a bad Southampton side.
The thing is, like, not Southampton, Spurs have scored so many goals since Mourinho took over. But he would take a 1-0 win against Man United. He'll take anything to get the result. So if they go ahead, will he shut up shop? Do they have the players to do that? Has he drummed it into them enough yet? I don't know. I think that's a real tough one. I just think if they were both away, I think it might be a bit closer. But I'd probably just play Martial at home, I think. Maybe it's the price psychologically. Because Martial's more expensive, that also kind of inclines me to tell him to play. But yeah, I think that's where I would go. But for my team, I can actually probably bring it up on screen. I don't have a screenshot of yours, but I should be able to bring mine up. Let me just get it up now. So I still don't have Lundstrom yet. I'm going to have to just cover the logo. There we go. So I've got Pope in goal, like you said. I'm just going to try and turn my mic up a sec. For some reason it keeps going down. So I've got Pope in goal. I'm not really too concerned about that. I don't want to use a transfer on a goalkeeper just yet. He's also the second highest scoring keeper at the moment. Has Newcastle at home in 3 game weeks as well, so it's maybe not absolute must sell time. Trent obviously plays himself, although it'd be nice if Liverpool actually got a clean sheet at some point. And I've got Tomori and Soyuncu. So I've got 3 players playing at home, Everton, Villa, Watford. And I'm thinking, do I have to bring in Lundstrom for a hit against Newcastle? I would bench Tomori if I did that. I'm just not sure if it's worth it. I'm still deciding on that. That's going to go right up to deadline. I'm probably going to do it, I think. So I bought in Pulisic for Mount. That was a tough one, to be honest, because Obviously, you don't want to take out a player before they play Villa at home. So I didn't necessarily want to do that, but I just, it's actually writing the article for my team article for Scout this week. Basically made me make that transfer because Pulisic, in the last 6 game weeks, from open play, his expected goals is better than Vardy. So he's really nailing it, getting into the right positions, having plenty of shots. So I like the look of him. I've got Mane, De Bruyne. I think De Bruyne has kind of kept himself in my team after the last 2 games. Obviously, he's been pretty good all season. And Maddison's the one that I don't know. I feel like I bought Maddison in after that Arsenal game because I wanted another Leicester player, but he's not done anything. But they've got the fixtures for the next 3 to kind of hold. So I've got him for now, but he's basically now an alley placeholder, I think, for me. And then I got Ings, Vardy, and Jimenez up front. So obviously nothing much to shout home about. And Vardy has to be captain. There ain't no doubts about that for me. So yeah, the problem is I'm looking good this week. I felt I was looking good last week and I only got a 51. So we'll see what happens this week.
It always happens that way. When you're confident about your team is when it tends to implode. And then when you feel really awful about it is when it tends to explode. So yeah.
Maybe this will be a middle of the road. I think people I've seen as well chatting about Jamie Vardy triple captain, which is an interesting one. I'm assuming that you're not a fan of that.
No. We could have Liverpool playing West Ham in a double game week. I know we've already talked about Martin perhaps maybe making them harder to beat, but surely there's going to be some better options. I mean, it's not that I don't like Vardy. We might even get Vardy in a double game week, And as much as Watford are managerless and missing a few defensive key personnel, they have sort of stopped the rot a bit defensively. I mean, I know they've conceded a fair few goals in the last few games, but they've made themselves a little bit harder to beat. And I think Vardy will still do well, but it's all about probabilities. I just think Vardy in a double game week perhaps later in the season, because I'd expect them to go on a cup run. So, opportunities there. And of course, Liverpool, because of the Club World Cup or whatever it's called, could have one which involves them playing West Ham and someone else pretty rubbish. So, yeah, definitely don't use it this weekend.
Yeah, I think for me, I don't want to absolutely have to use it in double game week after what's happened the last few seasons for me. I think the one thing that would put me off this one is it is straight after another game. Like, it's a midweek game. Leicester haven't had too many... Well, they've not had Europe to contend with, so they're probably quite rested and stuff. But I don't know. Manager just gone. Will that spur them on or make them worse? It's just hard to tell right now. So yeah, not a triple captain for me. Just seeing in the chat now, see if there's any other questions that are coming up. Bench Robertson or Soyuncu? I mean, if you've got Liverpool defenders, you can't bench them, right? No matter how many clean sheets they're not keeping.
I mean, who else they got if those are looking worth benching this week? I mean, I'd start both of them.
Yeah, Soyuncu, I'm really happy to own Watford at home. I feel like that's not a banker clean sheet, but nearly as good as it gets. So Robertson there. What else have we got? Who to start, Mount or Martial? I mean, I'd probably still go Martial, but there'd be a part of me that would want to play the fixture. I mean, are you expecting Mount to start?
I think so, but I mean, it is really hard to tell. I mean, we've obviously done a predicted lineup, but it to some extent, it's a hunch in the sense that we haven't seen Lampard have to do this yet. In terms of, I mean, of course, he has played Champions League games, but I think it's very obvious that Premier League is a priority for most of these clubs. So we haven't seen, Chelsea go through that period of Premier League game, 3 times in 1 week. And considering the options he's got, he could bench him conceivably. Bearing in mind that he could play Willian as the number 10. You could play Pulisic as the number 10. And any of these players could play in 10. He could play 4-3-3 if he wanted to, because of course Villa play 4-3-3. And then play, Jorginho, Kante, and Kovacic in a 3, and then Pulisic and Willian either side of Abraham. So it's a really tough question I'll be predicting the Chelsea 11 for this game. I think is quite difficult. Of course, throw Abraham in there as well, and it's tricky. So
with all that, then surely Martial to start.
Oh yeah, I would be much more confident of Martial to start than Mount. Definitely.
There we go then. How long will Kelly be starting for Palace? Isn't Ward is out for a little while, right? So
yes, it's several. So some sources say several weeks, some sources say a few weeks. And if you really think there's a difference between that, then enjoy parties. A couple of weeks, I'd imagine. So keep an eye on what Hodgson's saying. But the great thing about Kelly is you're not going to want to sell him, even if he's not playing. So start him when you can, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I've got Diop on my bench, and he's 4.5 million. He never gets played, so 4.1 should be good. And also worth remembering, this time of year, a few weeks is quite a few game weeks, so not a bad purchase at all. Like if he's out for like 3 or 4 weeks, maybe, then you're probably going to get like 5 or 6 game weeks out of that. So that's pretty handy. Can't believe people are playing triple captain. It'd be interesting to see if it comes off. We have seen some pretty big triple captain scores before, but. And Vardy does have form. Only 11 minutes until the deadline. I still haven't made my lunchroom transfer.
We better save you some time to do it then.
I'm gonna do it now. I'll stay on till 6:30, but I'm gonna make the transfer now while we're live.
Okay. If you're happy, I'll sign out and then sort a few things on site. That's not gonna mess with the video? I hope.
No. I will just delete you from the stream and we'll be all good.
All right. Nice one. Right, well, thanks for having me on, and good luck to everyone with the game week. And especially those of you who are looking for the Watford team news update, it will be there very soon. So see you all later.
Good man, David. Catch you later. All right. Are we still on? My mic, I get it. My mic is frustrating. I don't know what the hell is going on. Let me just put this. There you go. My beautiful face even bigger. If anyone is a computer technician, I'm telling you now, every time I go on my sound, my mic input is down, and I put it up, and it goes back down again. It's so frustrating. So yeah, there's that interesting news. Let me bring my team up. I'm gonna do Maguire to Lundstrom. If he gets a yellow card, I swear to God, I'm gonna carry on because full FPL is now my job. But I'm gonna be annoyed. All right. Okay, he is in. I'm going to bench Tomori, who's got a great fixture. I realise I'm doing all this and you can't even see. Let me just confirm everything, so I don't want to come out of this and be in tears because I've messed something up. All right, let me put it here. Get my team on screen for you. So this is how I'm lining up for a -4. -4. That's now 3 hits in 4 game weeks. So there we go. I think that team is looking very nice this week. It's a bit template, of course, but as you know, I don't mind that too much. Your mic is fine. David's was too loud. Look, we'll try and sort it out for the next stream. All right. This is as you've seen on my channel, I don't tend to do videos with more than just me, so it's very easy to set the levels. So I need to figure that out. Obviously, Joe is a pro at this, so I'll ask him for his advice. Change the volume. Yeah, okay, we won't worry about the volume too much now. I'm definitely benching Tomori with this team. Don't like the -4 when Tomori is on the bench. I don't like it either, but the thing is now, Lundstrom's in. I don't have to worry about this every single week. Next week, I can do Maddison to Ali if I want to, or I can just save the transfer. I'd love to get into a position where I'm saving transfers, basically, where I can load up with 2, because right now this is pretty template. There's not any players that I'm kind of looking at on screen right now that I massively want to get rid of. But that will change soon. Obviously, we've got Game Week 18 blank with Liverpool. We've got Leicester fixture in Game Week 18 is pretty difficult. They play Man City and Liverpool 2 game weeks in a row. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Let's see what else. Here's the thing, all right? Because people have said to me, Harry Maguire is gonna score now. He would have been on the bench. Okay, I would have benched him and played Tomori if I'd kept him. So as long as everyone plays, Harry Maguire scoring is not very punishing. But it will be frustrating because I did consider keeping him and doing Diop to Lundstrom and then having Maguire on the bench, because over Christmas he's going to play, got a bit of goal threat, got some okay home fixtures as well over the next kind of 6 or 7 weeks. But I wasn't going to play him this week anyway. And if I'd done Diop out, I'd have 0.8 million less cash basically to play with, something like that. Anyway, so I couldn't have done Maddison to Ali. So that's why I've done it. Let's see if it works out. I went for Pulisic instead of Zaha. Couple of hot topics on the Fantasy Football Scout website today. That I done one today and one yesterday. Members hot topics discussing Zaha and Pulisic. No, Son versus Ali and Zaha, but Zaha's stats not great. But maybe he's trying to play himself into the window, while at the same time got good fixtures, a little bit of form, maybe some confidence. So I think he looks good. Look, the thing is, you say I've just jinxed Lundstrom, right? So look at this guy. Okay, he scored 21 points. Don't get me wrong, that was frustrating. Outside of that, he's blanked 4 games in 5. There ain't much jinxing going on there. So, I don't know. He hasn't been that great, I hate to tell you. I mean, 21 points obviously is amazing, but is he going to do that again? Seems unlikely. But you never know. I mean, the man is fairly attacking. David is extremely busy at this time of the day with midweek fixtures. So he was still doing stuff on the site when he came on to do the team news. We couldn't do the team news earlier. That was my fault. Had other stuff to do. So we did it now, and I thought we'd turn it into a bit of a live Q&A, but he's going to do stuff with the site. So you've got me, I'm afraid. Just little old me. They were hard fixtures. Yeah, don't get me wrong. They've got good fixtures now. Hopefully Sheffield United can keep up their good scoring form. Basically, if Lundstrom or Pulisic blanks and the other one goes nuts, then I'll just say that the hit was for the other one. You bench in the week he got 21 points. I bought in Harry Maguire the week he got 21 points. If I bought in Lundstrom, I'd be 21 points up. I wouldn't have to take a hit this week, so I'd actually probably be more like 25 points up. I would have got him for like 4.7 or 4.8, so I've had to pay extra for him as well. Not good. There's a clean sheet topic on the Fantasy Football Scout. There is indeed, GWiz. Go and check that out if you haven't already. There's also a really cool article. In fact, I can probably bring it up on screen. I'll delete that a sec, because I don't want to show you the wrong thing from my desktop, you know. Who knows what kind of dodgy stuff there. So there was an article done, a community article by R. McTavish. Right, so this is some stats that he pulled. So anyone can go and read this public article. So Jamie Vardy is having a party. Leicester have won all 10 of their Premier League home games against Watford. I think we all were expecting Leicester to win anyway, but that is nice. This is my favourite stat from the article. Since Brendan Rodgers' first Premier League game in charge, now I've not fact-checked this by the way, I'm sure it's correct, back in March the 3rd, 2019, so for most of this year, he has scored 22 goals, which is 6 more than any other player in that time. And it just doesn't look like that's going to dry up anytime soon. Could he blank against Watford? Of course, anyone can blank against anyone, but yeah, that looks good. So if you want to check that article out, obviously Game Week 15 is getting pretty close now. In fact, it's 4 minutes away. You can go and check that out on the site right now. It's a community article. Let me get rid of that. Yeah, I've got to go careful what I put up on screen. I think it's 4 minutes left, right? Let me have a look at my clock. Yeah, 3.5 minutes. See if there's any major team news. I'm kind of looking out on Twitter. Obviously, the Man City game is until 8:15, so we won't get any news from then until 7:15. We're just going to get the Palace and Bournemouth lineup. So we'll stream until that comes out and see how we're looking. Why is there a stat of Tuesday when Leicester Watford is on Wednesday? Yeah, fair point. But the other stats obviously don't matter what day it is. Just a misreading of the fixture, I would say. Play Abraham or Kelly. I would kind of agree with what I said. Well, obviously I would agree. I said it, but David kind of agreed. Was if you've got Abraham, I think you just play him. There's obviously a chance that he gets put on the bench and doesn't get brought on. But I think ultimately you can just risk it. Just play him. Either he's not in the squad at all, or he is and he plays, and happy days. Is Pulisic a good captain choice? So he is my... I've taken the team off screen again. But he's actually my vice captain. Now, I guess that doesn't really mean a huge amount because Jamie Vardy is obviously... I'm not expecting Jamie Vardy not to play, let alone to maybe be benched and not play at all. So I've got Pulisic as my vice captain. So I do think he's just that good an option this week. Villa at home, I think they've, in terms of actually goals conceded, I think they've done okay, probably better than you'd imagine. But in terms of shots conceded and stuff, they're never that. They're always quite high up. So yeah, I think Pulisic is shooting so much. Like I said, expected goals over the last 6 game weeks higher than Jamie Vardy, at least from open play. Obviously, Vardy has penalties to back him up, which is nice. But Pulisic looking good. But would I captain him ahead of Vardy? I wouldn't. That's for sure. Abraham's minutes could be limited. Yeah, I think so. Like if he does play or he does start, we could see 67, 70 minutes out of him, but that's enough for goals, right? So I would start him. If you've got someone on the bench who's so good you want to play him ahead of Abraham, absolutely you should do. But if I had kept him, I would definitely be starting him this week. Ditch Martial for Ali. For me, that's just a transfer that can wait till next week. You've got Martial's at home in that game. We don't know if it's going to be open or tight. I think it is a game that Man United can score goals in. I don't think Spurs will keep a clean sheet in that one. Obviously, Martial is the striker. I personally prefer that transfer next week when Ali's got a better fixture and Martial's away to Man City. I am locked in. Vardy captain, Pulisic vice captain. Although I am going to double check. Everyone, I would advise you double checking right now. So yeah, I'm locked in. This is it. I've clicked my team. Vardy captain, Pulisic vice captain. We are good to go. Is it essential to have Lundstram on the pitch this week? I'd be surprised if FPL managers have Lundstram in their squad and they have a better player to play this week in defence. Pens down. Are we through? Are we in? Have we got the lineups? I hope I've confirmed. No, I've confirmed my team. Stop panicking. We're not locked in. Oh, we are locked in. All right. Let me see. Let me see if Zaha's been benched. Let me have a look. I mean, I'm sure he hasn't been, but you never know, right? Crystal Palace FC. Zaha starts. Who'd have thought that? The guy that's played 90 minutes in every game since game week 1 is starting. So Zaha starts. Kelly's in. Same kind of lineup as normal. AU, Zaha, Townsend, etc., etc. And Bournemouth. I mean, I'm not sure many of us own Bournemouth players at the moment, apart from Rico. But let's have a look anyway. So Wilson is up front with Solanke. So still no King there. Harry Wilson, Danjuma as well on the left. About what you would expect. Rico still playing left back, of course. So yeah, look, we'll leave it there. I appreciate the what am I trying to say? The mic levels were frustrating. We'll try and fix it for the next one. Obviously, it's the first time we've done this on this channel. I expect. So what have we got coming this week? So there'll be a Sam Says and a Scoutcast, probably both on Thursday. I'm not sure there's going to be anything tomorrow. Obviously, we're right in the middle of a game week, so it's tricky to do a video. And then so Scoutcast on Thursday. Obviously, in times gone past, one Scoutcast has kind of covered 2 game weeks, but we've done, or Joe's done one on Monday, and there's going to be another one on Thursday. So wait and see for that. And then there'll be another team news with me and Neil on Friday. Obviously, the next game week is pretty close together. So I'm going to leave this stream here. Thanks for tuning in. Good luck in game week 15. Hopefully it's a big one. I would love a green arrow for once. I've had a few recently, but last week wasn't good. Hopefully a green arrow. Good luck, everyone. Make sure to like the stream if you're enjoying it. Subscribe if you're new around here as well. Plenty more videos and content to come on this channel over the next few weeks. We'll have the whole of Christmas absolutely covered for you. And otherwise, I'll leave it there. See you.